Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hunter's Real World, a podcast where we just sit around, chat, and have a good time. I'm your host, Hunter, and today I am just joined by Wyatt Plush Productions today. How you doing?
Welcome to his podcast. It's fun. I'm gonna have fun here because I like podcasts.
We were talking about podcasts in the recent Roblox video that I uploaded, and so, you know what? Here we are, like a couple of days later.
Hell yeah.
So, Fetch was gonna join us today, but I don't really know. Said he's got nothing going on, but doesn't want to join. Honestly, I can kind of understand him not joining. I mean, it's like first week of the summer. Well, for him, it's probably like second week. Um,
Yeah.
I've been feeling a little down in the dumps today because I was at a grad party yesterday, and I left at around midnight right after people started playing Spin the Bottle. So, you can imagine what, like, the situation was looking like for me at that party.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
It was also a pool party too, so there was like a little bit of energy, but like not enough. But no, I didn't want to stay and find out.
That's fair. That's fair.
Honestly, kind of regret not playing. But you know what? It's fine. I'd probably look back at it in like 10 years like, why did I do that? So, you know what? Honestly, glad that I left.
Bottle like 13 years ago.
I can like barely hear you right now.
Is it really that bad?
Yeah, you're kind of distant, and then when you just said
I'm
that, now you
I'm
sound closer.
literally. All right. Is it good now?
Yeah, it's good. It sounds good.
All right. Cool. 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 By the power of editing, we have fixed it.
Yes, we have. So, hoping that Fetch would be on this call today, I kind of want to talk about my latest film that I had released, The Demon of Old Andy Bridge.
Uh huh.
So, I started working on this film back in mid-February, and honestly thought it would be one of those films where I'd take like 6 months working on and it wouldn't be done until the fall. But I worked on it much faster than I expected, even for like a 40-minute movie as well.
40-minute movie. You said late February. It's now the end of May. That's like 3 months.
Yeah, it took about 3 months to make the film. It came out 2 weeks ago.
I mean, that's like a decently short amount of time.
Yeah. So I ran into a couple technical problems while working on the film. I had gotten almost all of the audio edited in the movie
Yes,
because
ma'am.
for stop motion, I edit the audio first, break up the clips, and then film the footage after that. What happened was I was trying to make more storage space on my phone and cleared the entire data on my app that I'm editing on, and it got rid of every bit of editing that I had done. And I had over three-quarters of the film edited sound wise, but no footage was shot yet. So I had to spend another week going back and editing all this audio again. It was very tedious, but then I knew how to cut corners and make the film just a little bit shorter so I wouldn't be having excess footage. And that's when I started filming it. Mid February was when I started the sound editing. I don't think I started shooting the film until very early in March.
See, I see.
And this is where we get into the interesting part about filming. When I had like maybe 5 or 6 minutes of the film done already, um, there was there was one guy that I had recently gotten in contact with who you guys may know from the last podcast episode was Lego Animation 6370, a Finnish stop motion animator who I'd been following for probably around 8 years now. And I told him about this film I was working on and sent him the script. A day or so later, he came back and said it was a really good script. He loved like the characters and how the story played out. So then I offered if he wanted to make a cameo appearance at the end of the film, which he said yes. So I quickly rewrote the ending of the script, and then we have a cameo of one of his characters from his videos, an old man named Raimo. And interesting enough, because of that cameo, Lego Anime, Juho, the name of the guy who runs the channel, he wanted to help advertise this film. So the day that the film came out, he made a post on his channel, and now this is the most viewed film in the entire trilogy that I've worked on for this series. It's sparked 1.3 thousand views in 2 weeks.
Successful.
Yeah, and all the other films in the series have just a little over 300, almost 400. So definitely quite the spike in content. And now I have 8,000 subscribers on this channel.
Yeah, that's amazing to me, dude. 8,000. That's an accomplishment to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Some of the other technicalities of working on this film was, I started experimenting with types of animation that I had touched on a little bit before, but never really activated it the way I did for this film. This was the first major project where I really did a lot of claymation. First time I did claymation was The Case of the Missing Shark statue, a older project of mine. The first draft of it back in 2023. I'm gonna say 2023. But that one was just a simple blob of Play-Doh. It had no facial features, a couple of limbs that it could like 2 arms it could move around. But there was never really any depth, like no sculpting of a real character until Lego Do You Copy The Leeds Murder, which was a sequel to one of my older projects I made back in 2020, where I actually sculpted a claymation Goatman for this movie. And it wasn't the best model because it had no like skeletal structure to it. And for basically the entire film, I only filmed the Goatman from the waist up. I never showed like his entire body for most of it. So for a lot of scenes where the Goatman's talking with the main character, you're only seeing the top half of the body of the character. And you can even see it at the end of the film where it's just his top half is just sitting on the ground. You don't even see his legs at all. So I knew for this film, Demon of Aldandy Bridge, I had to evolve my claymation skills a bit further. So I went out and got some like aluminum wiring and actually made a skeleton structure for this Goatman figure. Then just molded the clay around it, made a head for it, and then we have a more secure structured Goatman that I can actually move around and can make him walk, make him point, make him move his head around. And that kind of showed me that with just enough time and effort put into it, I can make claymation as like professional on a level as like the studio that made Wallace and Gromit or all these other claymation films that exist out there.
Right.
Now, the second challenge for claymation was sculpting the Wendigo, one of the other creatures that shows up in the film. His design was more elaborate. In fact, Fetch sketched out the character, and I just sculpted the figure based on his concept art. Brown body, kind of shaped like a deer, long neck, long limbs that are longer than its body, exposed rib bones outside of his chest, and a kind of skull-like face, like his jaws are fully exposed bone, and he's got a very specific design in the antlers. One of them's fully intact, one of them looks like it's been ripped off at some point. So that design was pretty unique, and honestly didn't take long to make. I ended up using the rest of the brown clay that I own to make the Wendigo figure. And I still have the figures today. I haven't taken them apart, nor have I done anything with the set since it's been complete, because I haven't been working on any other stop motion since that film was done.
Would you say that those clay figures, would you say that like would you have like any like gripes with them?
Like, what do you mean?
Like looking back at like how you made them, would you like is there anything that you think you would rather have changed or anything?
I felt like the Goatman figure toward like the second half of the film, you could notice that at the very beginning, like his first appearance, he had full on he had four fingers on his hands, but then as we went further and further toward like the third act of the film, no fingers on his hands, so I could make the fight scene more easy to animate. So if I were to go back, I would have made sure that he had intact fingers for the entire film.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, the Wendigo model stayed consistent, but I felt like I could have made him more bulky, like more brute looking in strength. But like I said, I had run out of brown clay for that character, and I didn't want to go spend more money on it just to like mix up the different types of clay. Plus, I wanted to get this film done as soon as possible.
That is fair. That is fair.
But overall, the figures came out better than I anticipated, and doing the stop motion for them, oh man, the headache that I got from filming some of these scenes was just it. I'm getting it right now just thinking about it, but basically there were some shots in this film where it's one long continuous take, maybe between 10 and 20 seconds of footage. Now, mind you, I'm filming at 12 frames per second, which means each second of action you see on film is 12 frames of work. And I'd say, on average, for like slow scenes where it's like dialogue between the Lego characters, it can take an average of about 1 hour or so to do between 45 and 60 seconds of footage. But for some of these action scenes, even for just a 10-second shot, it would take between 30 and 40 minutes of just long, continuous work to get the choreography down, make sure everything looks smooth. Not to mention, at times, I was also moving the camera while I was doing this stuff. Stop motion is such a long and tedious process, but the the final result is always worth the pain that you have to go through for it.
Right.
There was one shot in the film where it was a 17-second continuous shot of the Lego characters. There was this fight on the very top of the bridge, and the three main characters play out this really choreographed fight with like the cult followers of the Goat Man. And I was going to storyboard it originally, but I'm stubborn when it comes to doing that, so I just thought, you know what? Let's just wing it. Let's just wing it and see what we can do. So I spent 2 hours straight filming this really complicated shot. There were you had to move I had to move all sorts of characters. Each character on the top of the bridge had to be doing their own movement, so I had to be consistent of what character was doing what while everybody else is doing their own thing. And I was also rotating the set while I was filming this. So while I'm sitting there moving these like 10 or 12 minifigures in different positions, I've also got to move this 2 foot long set ever so slowly each time I take a picture. And I wish I would have spent more time on that because it didn't really stick with the vision I had for that scene, but looking back on it, it was a pretty cool scene I ended up filming. And I'm proud of the effort that I ended up putting into it. Despite 2 hours of work and it was late and I just wanted to go to bed.
That's honestly valid. I have the same type of thing happens with me when I'm trying to like make videos as well.
Yeah, overall, so far, I'd want to say, I say this like every time I make a video, but I was gonna say this might be my most proud animation that I've ever worked on because of the new techniques I implemented, the the way it turned out, also the length of the film. But I still want to say my most proud project so far is the Mars: The Bringer of War, which you actually animated for some parts.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, Wyatt helped animate some of the facial expressions, especially on the Martian general guy toward the very end. So
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that.
yeah, props to you on that. I actually filmed a reference of my own face just to give him an idea of what expressions I wanted for this guy, and I had a smile on my face just looking at that footage, like, yep, this is how I wanted it to turn out.
I uh genuinely one of the best projects I think I've worked on for somebody.
And I've submitted it to a film festival, so if it gets selected this July, then your work will be put on a big screen in New York City.
That is a fucking dream, dude.
Yeah. That's why I kind of asked when I was crediting you, do you want your real name mentioned or just your YouTube name?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But, I mean, the work paid off, honestly, because I still sometimes look back at that short just to listen to the music I had in it.
Looking back at all these like old projects that you work on is always nice because it's nice to see what you really enjoyed making.
And how far I've come in my talent since then.
Exactly.
I mean, I've been working on a Godzilla film since 2022, and I think sometime next month in June, I might start working on the next part for it. It's such a long movie that literally I've had so many other ideas that there was one time I nearly wanted to cancel this project because it was just such a long story and I didn't think I could put enough time and effort to finish it. But at this point, I think the viewers just have to accept you're probably not going to see the end of this film until at least 2028. Like, I'm going to spend 6 years on this project working on one 20 to 30 minute part once a year, or even twice a year at the most, just for you to finally get the end of it.
I mean, on the bright side, it'll look really good by the time it's done.
Yeah, I mean, you can compare the very first part of this film to the most recent one I've made, and you can see how far I've come along since then. Kind of speaking
Yeah, I
of,
mean, it's definitely looking good.
yeah.
I haven't watched the full thing, but I have gotten some. I have looked at a few parts while talking with Fetch about these types of things.
Hmm. Just today I was watching Blunt Brothers Productions' Triangle versus Monkey series. Have you ever heard of it?
Think so.
So he started working on this little parody of Godzilla versus Kong in like 2021, and I think he was like 16 years old when he started it. Now he's graduated from high school. He's in college, and he just made the 51st part of the series. And my God, the animation in the newest part is just so beyond how the series started. Because
Oh
it
yeah,
looks
this
like
is
a
the guy that did those rhymes with Grug videos.
yeah. I mean, it looks like a full-on anime at this point because he's worked like several months on this newest part, and I was just, I was just my jaw, I, it was jaw-dropping for me seeing the animation in that part. But yeah, his rhymes were grub videos always so funny.
Yeah, I can't say that I've watched the full Triangle versus Monkey series. Looking at it, I've definitely seen one or two parts. I've never watched them all in order though. But looking at
It's
this, I definitely
yeah,
want to.
it's very funny at times. It's mostly comedy, but like the latest part that he made, it is very serious. It's like it's very gruesome. It's basically like watching an episode of Invincible, but it's just so freaking good. It's a brilliant blend of like a buddy comedy mixed with like a full-on anime action, which I just love the contrast that series has. That's what happens when you start actually writing a script for stuff. Because you could kind of tell if you sat down and watched a whole series about which part in the series, you could start telling. He started writing a script for it. Everything else was just like, okay, I want to do a bunch of references. They're just like hopping around from dimension to dimension, and yeah, I don't know how to end this. And now there's a whole story planned for it.
It's actually crazy, dude.
Yeah. When I
It's amazing what people can do with what started out as such silly stories.
pretty much, yeah. And it started off as just a meme too.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I'm honestly surprised how far I've gotten into my own Godzilla film because when I started working on Fallout Extinction, I didn't have a script in mind. Basically, I was just following along a linear plot of how my first film,
Uh,
Godzilla Fallout, ended, where basically he destroys the world.
no, but yeah, I do think that there's a lot of there's a lot of like potential behind like what can be started off as something goofy and fun.
I mean, if you take enough time to listen to the viewers and kind of look at where you're going with it, you can say, okay, this is a fun video I made. Do I want to spread the lore out even further?
That's the real question.
Cuz for my first film, Godzilla Fallout, that one was just a simple little story that I had. Godzilla destroys Los Angeles and then they trap him in the volcano at the end. Then it's just my own remake of the very original Godzilla film and another one that came out in the 80s. And then when I got to the very end of it, I just thought, you know what? What if I like stretch the story out further? He escapes out of the volcano and destroys the world and ends up succeeding in doing that. So then after that film was finished, I made a 13-minute part where Godzilla marches across the world, destroying cities, and then he just eventually blows up and engulfs the world in flames. But after I made that short film, I thought, you know what? What if I just ended up making a movie that just followed along the entire plot of him marching across the world and ending up destroying it? But this time, have a bit of a happy ending to it. Because we were seeing it in Godzilla's point of view in the short film, but this film mainly focuses on the humanity and the politics involved with how they're dealing with this monster and how they need to embrace the fact the world's gonna end. What are we gonna do about it?
It reminds me of I think the movie 2012, I think it is.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Interesting enough, the part that I am going to work on next is actually the part where it tells the viewers Godzilla is gonna destroy the world. Because all the other parts I've had so far, it's just him walking around destroying cities and stuff, so they think he's gonna end up destroying every city. But, kind of spoiler alert to anybody watching this, in part 6 of this film, scientists start to learn his body temperature's increasing, and if it keeps growing and growing, he's gonna undergo a meltdown that is just gonna engulf the Earth in flames. And now everybody has to prepare for that. They gotta make bunkers, they gotta evacuate civilians, and all this stuff. And just wait it out, make sure everybody's prepared to survive until Godzilla undergoes his meltdown. I've had the whole extinction story planned for, I've had it written out for probably 2 years now. And have just gotten to the last part of the second act of the film because the film has 3 acts to it. It took about 2 years to make the first act. It's taken almost 2 years to make the second act, which this next part I'm working on is the end of Act 2. And then we're gonna move on to Act 3, which is significantly shorter.
Right.
But what I really love about the series that I'm making is that I'm really experimenting with making a lot of dramatic scenes. I'm not just focusing on the monster action, I'm focusing on like the emotions of humanity, such as how people are going to have to deal with loss, grief, and the existential fact that everything around them's going to end. And they got to deal with it.
Kind of a psychological horror, yeah.
Kind of more just like a drama. I'm not going the 2012 route because honestly, that is one of my most. I hate that film. I love the effects in it, but I just hate the writing in that movie. Everybody's acting is just so cheesy with a very serious event happening on screen.
Huh.
So I'm just taking the more dramatic approach to it, kind of like Oppenheimer or something. But overall, after I'm done making that movie, I just I don't know. I might just quit Godzilla for good after that.
I mean, honestly, that's fair.
Cause I've been slowly shying away from like being a big Godzilla fan because honestly, the kaiju community is pretty toxic and weird. No offense to anybody listening to this. So I've just kind of been shying away from that. But because I have this big movie planned, I'm just kind of sticking with it to sort of I'm mainly just trying to tell the story at this point. Without digging too deep into the whole Godzilla lore, it's mainly a humanity story with a famous character involved.
I mean, yeah, I'd like to see how it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to say it's kind of funny to me. Most people's most people's like YouTube projects have interested me more than like recent movies.
I mean, yeah, it's really interesting to see small creators putting so much time and effort into these basically movie-worthy projects that just end up getting between 10 or 100 million views on the internet.
I mean, yeah.
And then so far, you have 2026 where you have a bunch of movies made so far directed by YouTubers. You have Markiplier's Iron Lung, you have the movie Obsession, which was directed by a YouTuber, and then you have the Backrooms movie.
I'm not looking forward to the Backrooms movie. I don't think it's gonna be bad, but I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna live up to all the hype.
I mean, I want to see it mainly because Kane Parsons directed it, and because I love movies where it just has that liminal vibe to it. I love liminal photography. I do it all the time.
Me
So I
too.
just want to sit down and experience that in the theater.
I do agree. I do think that liminal. I love liminal spaces as a whole. The thing that ruined the whole liminal space idea of the Backrooms, in my opinion, was like the amount of lore that people tried to give it.
They just went the SCP route with that. They just kept coming up with new level designs and all
And
these
it's like
different.
at that point, it's kind of losing its original charm of just being a creepy space.
That's why it's good we have Kane Parsons who directed it because he made a lore of the backrooms that didn't follow what everybody on the internet was coming up with. It was kind of
Right.
loosely based on his own story.
That's true. That's true.
Honestly, I'm hoping it's not diluted too much with all the internet hype. What I did love about the trailer was that they ended up recreating the OG image at some point for like a split second. We've had a pretty generational run of movies so far in 2026.
I will say there's been some good movies. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how like the last 5 years that have happened in the world have just suddenly tied like tied up loose ends. I mean, there's still crazy stuff going on in the world right now. Did you hear about the Blue Origins rocket explosion earlier this week?
I did not.
It happened in your state, man. In Cape Canaveral, Florida, Jeff Bezos' company tried launching a rocket booster, and it exploded on the launch pad. And it was one of the largest explosions in like 50 years in like the rocket industry. I mean, there were so many perspectives of it. People thought a nuke went off in Florida. But yeah, the film industry has really I want to say we're starting to get better at making movies. Hollywood is starting to step away from implementing all these all the woke ideas in the films and kind of letting more small creators experiment with their creativity. And
Yes.
it's paying off because these small movies made by these small creators, they're really getting a lot of attention at the box office. I mean, Obsessions earned like 60 million in the first 2 weeks. Backrooms earned like 70 million on its opening weekend, and then Iron Lung came in and earned like what was it like $15 million?
That sounds right.
I want to say either 15 or 10 million.
24.8 million in its first full week.
Wow. Okay. I underestimated that result.
We both did. I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah. Went and saw that movie with my best friend, and we were both blown away by just how good the movie looked. Throughout the film, I was wondering, why does this movie hold the world record for most blood used in it again? And then you get to like the final 20 minutes of the film and you're like, oh, that's why.
I actually haven't seen the movie yet.
It's now available on YouTube Movies to buy and rent.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
I'd think about it.
Alright. I kind of want to go back to the Demon of Old Andy Bridge, and I want to give out like one little fun fact about the film real quick.
Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
there's one scene in the film where one of the characters is taken captive by the Goat Man and his cult followers and brought back to the bridge that the movie takes place on, and the Goat Man performs a ritual to try and take this character's soul. Now, for this scene, Fetch voices the Goat Man in the movie, and in the script, he has to speak pure Latin to do this ritual. So I was a little worried that I'd probably end up getting like 3 or 4 takes from Fetch to get it right. The very first recording he sent me was one of the most perfect. It was one of the most perfect recordings I've ever heard of the Latin thing. And that's what ended up in the film. Cuz I mean, it was so bone chilling just listening to that, and I'm like, holy cow. I mean, I'm not used to making dark things on. I'm not used to posting dark things on my channel. Well, don't look up what happened in 1954. But that one scene that I made with the Goatman ritual, that one, that was one of my most impressive dark works. I showed it to my parents, and I was worried that they would be concerned about the type of content I was showing, but my dad was smiling the whole time he saw it. He thought it was awesome.
That's awesome, dude. Having parents that really like the stuff that you do.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite scenes personally in that movie because not only not only was my favorite because of the sound design and like the way the animation looked, but it was also the music that I used in it. Um, there was a movie that came out in 2007 called There Will Be Blood, and it's a kind of psychological horror film about a man who's drilling for oil in like the early 1900s, and he becomes obsessed with the idea of gaining wealth. And as he's developing an oil well, his son goes deaf. There's one guy running a church that's begging him for money, but he ends up killing the guy at the end. And one of his oil wells catches fire, and instead of just thinking, man, we're out of money with this oil well, he stares at the fire and is just saying, there's an ocean of oil down there and I want to get it. So the music that I used for the ritual scene came from one of those scenes in that movie where the oil well catches on fire. And while I was writing the script, I was mainly going to use music from a horror film called Insidious, which I ended up doing. But for some of these like ritual scenes, I had no idea what kind of music I wanted. So I just ended up using the music from There Will Be Blood in that scene because to me it really fit the vibe of that. And it's really chilling music as well. So that's what makes that one of my favorite scenes in the film. It was pretty simple to shoot. I loved how I made the lighting for it and everything. So, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and make a clip of that scene and just send it right here.
This music's good.
Yeah. It was composed by the lead guitarist of the band Radiohead. Fun fact.
I love the band Radiohead. Me and my friend CJ talk about that one a lot.
Yeah, so it's interesting how he can go from being a guitarist in a band like that to suddenly making music like that in a movie. But yeah, there's just so many aspects to that movie that I look back at it and I'm like, I love the way I shot it because, um, This was, I think, my third production when I started using these specialized lights I got at a bargain store that replicate what a sunset looks like. So there are some scenes in the film that take place at dusk where it actually looks like it's at dusk. That's just how good these lights are.
I see.
So definitely gonna keep on using them for as long as I can, and I need to get more just in case.
Fair, that's fair.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, you talking about all your projects, I suppose I could talk about one that's coming up with me.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, if that's all right with you.
yeah. That's fine.
So there's a new project coming out on my end. I say project, it's a new episode for my FNAF series. Uh, it's just called FNAF Plush.
Hmm.
Essentially, they're going back to an old episode's location, but I'm refilming it. I'm putting like my green screen in front of the bed, and then I'm because like the original scene, it was just all green screen and like PNGs of like a temple.
Hmm.
My plan this time is I'm just gonna put the green screen in front of my bed, use my bed as the floor, and then just have like actual drawn pieces of wall that I made.
Well, that's interesting.
This is also where the series is gonna start getting actually lore heavy.
Hmm.
Like obviously it's not been like devoid of lore the whole time. For anybody who, which I doubt there's anyone on your, like on of your subscribers that watch my videos, but if there is any, on the off chance, there's been a lot of like off lore, like the shadows, like Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy and all them, like all of a sudden showing up for no reason, with no memory of where they went or how they got there.
Hmm.
And then there's a mysterious character that's been tugging at strings of side villains that have been less so villains, more just minor antagonists, but will get larger roles in this episode. The main villain gets partially shown in this episode. Nothing too groundbreaking, but he gets some small visualization and just overall, just a small introduction to the villain that's going to be seen presumably until the end of this series, because I plan to keep him around for a long time.
I kind of remember my own plush era on my old channel. Um, only made like I there are so many lost plush videos that me and my friend Tyler made that were deleted in the Great Incident, which I brought up a couple times because my
What
mom ended up
happened?
deleting a lot of videos for it.
Oh,
Yeah, it was just a personal conflict between us. We were kids then, and my mom just didn't want any videos on my channel of him starring in. But all the oldest videos that he starred in, they're still up.
I
And
see.
yeah, yeah. There were a couple of other plush videos that ended up surviving, some of my own ones. Like when I first started this second channel, I tried making a Bendy and Ink Machine series where it was just the Ink Bendy plushie going through the story. But after like the first episode, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna keep myself up with this because I have no desire to do this. So that's where my plush era ended, and I just stuck with all the gaming videos and the stop motion content, yada yada.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot else going on with my channel as of right now. I mean, there's the PVZ series. I want to do a lot more PVZ videos. The only problem is uh plushes are expensive and I don't have all the plushes for the next episode. The
Hmm.
next episode I plan to go like the original episode, like pilot 1 was basically just like average Plants vs Zombies, like oh hey, they're all here now. Like it's just the start of a normal adventure. The second episode, I plan to go a lot more PVZ2 time travel type deal. With more so, he's like Zomboss is gonna bring uh, a bunch of different era zombies from different places. It'll be a little bit of a not so much a gradual shift. It'll be a lot more like immediate, but I think it'll be well worth it.
All right.
But yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about that
Hmm.
without giving anything away about the new stuff.
Yeah, I get it. Recently I've been working on a audiobook of a novel that I had recently written. So back in 2024, I did an analysis on an analog horror series called Project Britannica, which was animated and directed by this one animator who works for this YouTube channel that's dedicated to the history of the Titanic and other famous sinking ships. And the story was basically an alternate timeline of the history of ocean liners. Like, what if the Titanic didn't sink and it was instead a different ship that hit an iceberg called the Lusitania, which was torpedoed in World War One. And basically, all these ships exist in modern time and they're infected with a mysterious organism called the Mesh. Now, the series had potential for a while, and after I did my analysis of it, I ended up voicing in 2 episodes of the series. But toward the end of 2024, he quietly shut down the series, saying he was going to revamp it because he wanted to fix some plot holes in the story and make it look nicer. And we haven't heard a thing from him on Discord in almost 3 years. No, 2 years. 2 years.
Oh,
But we know he's still doing stuff because he's still working on animations with the channel's Titanic Honor and Glory and Ocean Liner designs. He just hasn't come back on Discord and informed us of anything.
I see.
So, what I ended up doing was earlier this year, I started writing a novelized version of the entire story because through many discussions I've had with him personally, such as on other podcast episodes, I know how he wanted to end the series. And basically, all of us fans had gotten a pretty good idea of how the story was going. So I just ended up using everything that somebody had done an analysis of on a Google Doc, and just basically tied all these elements together for a 200-page novel that I ended up coming up with a few creative things in my head that aren't canon to the series, just to make a linear, just to make it not a linear story, but like a plot that had a beginning and end to it. And I like how it turned out. So I've started recording an audiobook version of me telling the story, and so far I've released chapters 1 and 2. And just yesterday I recorded myself narrating chapters 3 and 4, which that video should be done sometime this week or next week. But that's about it. I don't know what else to talk about.
Yeah, me either.
All right, you know what? I guess we'll end the episode on that. Thank you for joining this podcast episode. We should definitely do this more often.
I'd love to. This was fun. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said the last time we talked about this, I have all summer to do this stuff.
And yeah, I took up a lot of talking time today, so I'm sorry about that.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, like I like it kind of showed, I didn't have a whole lot to talk about.
We had more to talk. We had more topics to talk about in the evade video than we did this episode.
Yeah, I would say we kind of wasted a lot of our topics on that video.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'd say the next time we do this, we definitely don't talk about anything like podcast worthy.
Yeah, next time we actually write down topics and stop talking about our own stuff.
That's fair. That's fair.
Alright, well, thank you all for watching this episode, and we will see you all next time.